Thank everyone for coming this evening, or here today. And understand you may have some questions. I'll be happy to try my best to answer those and what have you. But my wife Elaine is back there in the back. She came with me today, and anyway, I've lived here since 1957. My stepdad moved us out here, and so I've lived here, gone through all the school system. I would tell you that every time that when I got out of grade school here, they built a new grade school. I got out of junior high, they built a new junior high. Got out of high school, and they were in the throes of building a new high school. When I went to New Mexico State, they were building the basketball field over there. So, anyway, I've been here for quite a while. Elaine and I raised our family here. Artesia, the oldest, she lives in Lubbock. Jim, he still lives here. He helps me with the little business that we got going on. And Jake works for Holly in the corporate office at Dallas. And so anyway, I got on the council in 2005. I was asked to come on board and finish out an unexpired term that Jimmy Boyce had left when he got off the council. So I came in and done that. The elections came up, and I decided I was encouraged to run. So I went ahead and done it, and I've been running ever since. And 17 years I'm finishing up with this election. So I've been through a lot of constructing new buildings, facilities, things of that nature, new animal shelter that we enjoy. That was one of my big issues whenever I did get on the council. And it took a few years to get enough momentum going to get that thing built. But anyway, we did. And then we've got the citizens here have been very gracious in allowing us to pass a $90 million infrastructure recovery for the city. That's where we go in, and we've torn up streets, 13th Street in particular, Hermosa now. We've got half of that done. The other half coming back down to 1st Street from 13th is scheduled, and we're in the engineering phase of that right now. In doing those streets and things like that, the main arteries, what we've done is we've gone underground, dug all that road up. We've replaced the old pipe, sewer pipes, water pipes, valves, things like that, to prepare us for hopefully the next 50 to 100 years. But a lot of times whenever we've had leaks here in town, water department goes to close a valve and so that they can isolate that leak and what have you, and the valves won't work. I mean, they've never been turned, closed, opened, what have you, since they were put in. So anyway, we needed to replace those. A lot of the, maybe you have seen, we had some on display, some samples of the pipes and stuff that we had cut out and were replacing, and where you had big old pipes like that, it was choked down like this, over the years. And so that was affecting the fire suppression at the fire hydrants and stuff like that. Couldn't get enough flow through, but slowly but surely we're getting it done. And that was a $90 million project. Then we've PSC out here. Manuel Madrid was the mayor at that time. So we got behind that. there's a need for it. We'd outgrown the old police department down here, and it needed no more room and updated. So anyway, with the combination of building that and adding the fire department, the second fire department that we enjoy. Anyway, with that, that's housed in that complex, as well as the municipal judges court. So that parks, we've had problems with the parks here a while back, a few years ago, especially, and we were having a lot of trouble with sprinkler systems, things like that. So we started addressing those, putting in the sprinkler systems, adding what we call gray water in to kind of help us get those parks back up to green and what have you. Then we've added, there was a request for a walking path. So we did. We've now gotten a path completed from here on 1st Street by the airplane, goes out to J.C. Park. So there's and we slowly but surely, as monies are available, we have started putting in lighting along that walking path. And we're coming along with it, but there again, you can't do it all out of one budget, so you have to do it piecemeal, like everything else that we're dealing with. Some of the big issues that we have. But those are just some of the, the library, that started out at $6 million, it wound up $12 million by the time it's finished up. That's an outstanding, I mean, it's beautiful. If you haven't had an opportunity to go in there, you need to. You need to go see that. That is really nice. And they brought that mural out of Texas up here and put that in there, and that's nice. But let's see. There's several things that we've done over the years, and it's not just me. I didn't do it, but we done it as a council, and with community support in many instances and what have you. But anyway. With that, I can open this up. Anyone have any questions of me? I'd be happy to try to answer those.
I'll start.
Oh.
And the reason that I ask is because I do work for the fire department. I'm curious, and I've asked pretty much all the candidates that I've come to see speak, what is your plan to get our critical services pay up, or do you have a plan?
Yes,
because from what I understand, we're kind of down here as opposed to our surrounding areas.
We have, in this budget that we're doing right now, we have asked the HR to do a salary survey, okay? We do these occasionally. We go out and keeps her busy. So anyway, she brings all this information to us, and we start looking now. Whenever we do salary surveys and things, we look for communities of like size, okay? And that's a big criteria. Now, as far as bringing fire department up to pay, the losses that we're having out of the fire department are mostly going to federal jobs at WIP. A lot better benefits on the federal side, a lot better pay scale, pockets are full. We, here in Artesia, our budget, and the budget is a moving object because our gross receipt tax, our paychecks that we operate off of, it bounces. It can be up, it can be down. So when we try to set a budget, we do the best conservative that we can, okay? You don't want to budget for $3 million a month coming in, you're only getting $1 billion because somebody's going to be left out here. Fire department annual pay in the budget is a little over 300, no, just a minute. Almost $4 million, okay? Overtime budgeted for the fire department is in excess of $300,000 this year. Okay? The fire department came to us a few years ago. J.D. Hummingbird was fire chief at that time. J.D. says, we want to change our schedule. Where do you want to go to? We want to be 48 hours on and 96 hours off. I'd hate to be the guy in the ambulance, that was needing a ride in that ambulance at 47th hour. Somebody getting tired, in my estimation. Now, with that schedule, there is built-in overtime. That drives the price up, okay? A lot of these guys, a lot of the firemen, we do have some firemen that go to another community on their days off and work there. They're supposed to be home recouping and all this. That was the excuse to get us to go to this thing. But I do believe that the fire department, their pay is competitive with Carlsbad, Roswell. I believe they are. I don't know what their budget in Carlsbad is. Don't know what it is in Roswell, but I do know what ours is. And between the police and the fire department, those two departments garner over 60% of the entire city budget, leaving 40% for the other departments to manage with. Now, if you take and you say, well, we're going to take this money, we're going to increase these guys' wages, we're going to increase the police department's wages, where's that money coming from? That money's got to come from somewhere. Do I reach over in that 40% and say, give it back? We're going to give it over here to the fire department, police department? Then how is he going to operate? You give that other department mandates to operate and support the city and do services and stuff like that, and he's struggling, and yet you go in and have to pull money from that department, you're jeopardizing him. Then I'm not getting complaints from the fire department. I'm getting complaints from the people not getting their trash picked up. Okay? So we only have so much money, and we have budgeted $1.4 million a month, and that's what we live on.
Mr. Hill, in that regard, I know we've had several discussions about first responders, and
yes, ma'am.
The community sometimes just doesn't understand the inner workings, and you all as city councilors have to be fiscally responsible. We understand that, but you hesitated a little bit to take a $2.5 million grant from our foundation.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think we want to understand, and first responders are leaving. We are short-staffed. We have 1 or 2 police officers on the streets at a given time. I don't think that's really public knowledge. But what is your take on that, on our first responders and maybe hesitating to take that money? And we get it. There was a 10% cut a few years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
And the foundation came in and helped first responders. We think that's an important part of our community.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it wasn't fair. So this $2.5 million grant, you hesitated because it wasn't fair to other departments. And we get all employees are important to the city. It all has to work together for our city to function. But if we don't have first responders, I know you're worried about department heads coming to you guys being upset. But what about the community when there's not anyone to respond to these calls? If you could elaborate a little bit on your thoughts, what the solution might be. I know we only have so much pie to divide, but what are the solutions so that we do have first responders for our community?
Well, right now we have, here a while back, we had 5 cadets for the fire department, okay? We're down to 2 right now of those 5. The time that we cut back the 10%, that was a horrible, horrible decision to have to make. We struggled from, a week. Bill Rogers, myself on the finance committee, Bill was ahead of it. Phil Birch was the mayor at the time. We fully understood the impact that 10% was going to have on these employees of the city. As soon as we were able to, we returned the 10%. And the economy had blossomed a little bit, was coming out back, it was good, started to breathe a little bit. The gross receipt taxes were increasing, so we were getting back where we needed to be. Not only did we reinstate the 10% that we had to take back from them, we gave them a 2% increase. Since that time, we have, in the last couple of years, we've given a 2% increase across the board, not just to the fire department, not just to the police. Then we gave a 3%, an unheard of 8%. These guys over here at the plant, if they got an 8%, howdy, they'd be happy campers. Anybody. But that's what we've done. We've tried to increase as the budget would allow. The budget doesn't remain, the needs in other departments don't remain constant. There's constantly things that are evolving, pipes break, we have to go into infrastructure in some of these areas, stuff like that. But whenever you give, and we're so thankful that Peyton was willing to cover the 10% shortfall that police and fire were going to have to endure, right along with the rest of the city employees. But he was able to come in and cover that 10% for that period of time. But the way it was done, and the way that it showed that police and fire are up here and the rest of the employees are down here, because it didn't go across the board. And that caused some animosity between employees, morale issues, stuff like that. Never thought about the impacts of doing that. Although the best intentions, there were still ramifications that we as a city council had to deal with.
Do you think it was a communication issue with department heads and having them communicate with their employees on public safety issues?
No, I do not, because let's take Byron Landfair, infrastructure director. He met, the mayor met, I met with all those employees there. Infrastructure covers a large geographic footprint. Cemetery, water, wastewater, trash out here at the landfill. Stuff like that. He's got all kinds of facility maintenance, things like that. But we met with the employees and tried to settle them down. But still, that did cause a great issue amongst the employees. Now, Peyton has been generous. He's bought certain things for the police department, equipment-wise, stuff like that. And we are appreciative of it. We certainly are. But then I think there were 2 vehicles he was offered with $109,000 that was recently done. We opted to do the 2 vehicles. So anyway, it's as we get it, we adjust and what have you, but we're not against police and fire. Absolutely not. But they take so much, and it mandates that they do. But that leaves less for the rest. And like I said, if if you're going to increase, I've heard we had a forum at the Artesia the other day. One individual was standing up there saying he wanted a city manager. Artesia has got to have a city manager. I don't think so. Then we're going to raise to match with the first responders, match the county, who has a budget of over $6 million and versus our 1.4. I don't know where the funds are going to come from to get a city manager for $200,000, $250,000 a year. I don't know where that's coming from. And we've looked. I don't see where there's additional funding at this point to come in and do a massive increase on police and fire. If you say, well, you're hemorrhaging all these officers and positions and stuff out of police and fire. Have we looked at, let's say, infrastructure? Have we seen the turnover in there? Or does anybody pay attention to the turnover that we have there? Out here at the cemetery. You come out to have a service, and you have to wade through the weeds because you haven't got the personnel out there to keep it mowed. It's not just police and fire that we're hemorrhaging. I understand we need first responders, and we're doing everything that we possibly can with what funds we have to support them.
So what are your solutions? If you're elected mayor, what are some of those solutions to help alleviate these departments and losing personnel?
Yes, ma'am. Affordable housing. We are far, far, far behind on affordable housing, folks. We've talked about it over the years. Every time we think that we're going to get something moving, boom, anti-donation or something else jumps up. We have got to get affordable housing here. I'm talking about entry level. I'm not talking about a 4-bedroom house. That's not entry level. I'm talking about getting these water haulers, guys that are working in automotive shops, car dealers, schools. All these entry level people have got to have affordable to them housing. We've got to get that started. I've got a couple ideas. I'm ready to present it and pursue it with the council. We've got a place over here called the Old National Guard Armory on Center Street. Rob's been after it for years. He and I have a running battle over that place over there. If we're needing affordable housing for city employees in particular, the school has already started buying, years ago, started buying established homes and stuff like that to offer to their employees. The city should be doing that as well. And what I might propose to the council to consider is when the general fund reaches a threshold established by them, not by me, but established by them, 20 million, 25 million, then that would trigger their ability to go out to do a couple of things. Either go out and purchase established homes that are on the market to put employees into, or to take the National Guard Armory and instead of giving that or letting it get away to a developer, is for us to go in there and maybe looking at building duplexes, triplexes, single unit homes, something to put those employees into. And later on, should the the housing market correct itself here in town, then at that point the city could, if they so felt like it, put those properties up for sale and recoup those funds. But anytime that it hits 20 to 25 million, that would trigger, go do it. You can do it now, if you so desire. We can do that. I floated this thought, it's been a few years back. The employers around town, oil companies, everybody that needing help. The majors is what I was kind of looking at. They all vie for employees out of the same pool here. Why could you not, and this is just a concept, why could you not fill these seats here up with those power brokers, if you would, and propose to them that they invest, pool their monies. That way it wouldn't take a majority coming out of one deal. But I'm just going to give you a for instance. You got the Chase farm the Chase property out here by the Tractor Supply. When Chance come to us and wanted to build on that and develop it, he had proposed 800 homes going in there of various price ranges. After we started looking at it and everything with him, he pared it down to about 500. Now, if you take all these guys, the Devon, the Peyton, and everybody around that's needing help, if they put 100,000, 200,000, 250,000, whatever they felt they needed to, in there to purchase that property, then the city and that group sat down and we determined what can the city do to assist that. Can we do infrastructure, streets, water, power, stuff like that to assist you? You guys get your contractor. They're building like crazy in Lubbock. Bring a contractor from there if we can't get somebody from here. Build these things. And then you would have people, because when a guy comes in and he hires out to you, and then he starts looking for a house, but he can't find one. So where does he go? He goes to Roswell or to Carlsbad. Most of them going to Roswell. So when you give him that paycheck on payday, he's in that line of cars that's headed north at between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He's taking that home in Roswell. Those tax dollars are spent in Roswell. They are enjoying it. They're increasing their quality of life. They're increasing paying their police departments, and stuff like that. But those tax dollars need to be here. Once you build those homes, and once those guys get up there and they get established, kids in school, churches, all that stuff, when they're established, it's difficult to get them back down here. So that's what I said, we're way far behind. We have got to address that.
And also, all of the new houses on the west side, all of those are $400,000 houses.
Yes, ma'am. I'm
And
well
so-
aware of that.
Yeah, and so some of the wages, like I mentioned before, because I came to a different meeting, the entry-level wages, somebody can't afford that. A single mom can't afford anything like that. I left the city because if I was, and I'm married,
Yeah.
if I was to become a single mom, it would be really hard to live in, something like I'm living right now, obviously. I left and I've never regretted it. I think I've walked back into the city maybe twice. But it's very hard for single moms
Yes, ma'am.
or anybody. I mean, my boss, who is the manager of Right Away, he drives back and forth because he was able to find a better value of a house, bigger house in Roswell. And so that goes into, like I mentioned in the dinner meeting, somebody said, well, they work 16 hours and driving to Roswell. Who wants to do that? Who wants to drive back and forth after a 16-hour shift? So to keep our jobs here and to keep the people living here, $400,000
Yes,
for
ma'am.
houses,
I
that's,
understand.
so, I mean, when you're saying the Chases are different things, what kind of houses are they gonna be building?
Well, it was a cost, or you could have high-end houses and then entry level, you know, a few of them, stuff like that.
My friend just moved into a house up here by Center, she paid about $190,000 old, flat top
Yeah,
house,
yeah,
it's an
yeah.
old house.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what these brand new houses are
Well,
gonna go for.
I haven't priced them.
You
Elaine and I have
more
lived,
logistics issues with all of that though. The prices of lumber up, the prices
Oh,
for
yeah,
delivery
yeah.
are up. Who's gonna manage it if you're building all these houses? Who's gonna upkeep it? I mean, you're adding on more cost quickly. You're adding more cost on quickly for the city though, and you're saying you've got a tight budget. So who's gonna manage the properties and upkeep? I mean, is that part of the tenants that you're building over here for your city employees to live in?
yes,
Are they gonna be maintaining them and keeping them maintained, or is the city maintaining them?
no, I would suggest that there be as the school is doing, you can be in that house for whatever they determine, a year,
It's
2
usually
years,
2-year teachers.
something like that. Now, you turn around and we do have a maintenance department, facilities maintenance. And they take care of all the buildings, all of this, all of the city stuff. And the city does enjoy having 2, I don't think we have 3, but we have 2 rental properties that we do much like the school does. And we maintain those, all right, through facility maintenance. That's how we maintain them, okay? Go back to your question here. We've had several meetings on housing and stuff like that. We went out to PSC 3-4 years ago, had a guy come in from Santa Fe and,
Mr. Buckles?
yes, anyway, he was supposed to be an expert. Well, we began to quiz him and he began to give us some answers and recommendations, stuff like that. And there was a little list made of things that we needed to do to get us out of that slump. However, and there were realtors in there was insurance people in there was just across from everybody in the community, just about. Anyway, 2 comments stuck out in that thing. The realtors, whenever a guy said, she says, or they say, I want you to build $400,000, $500,000, $300,000 homes over here. Hey, wait a minute, who's selling them to? You don't worry about that, we can sell them. And they have. I don't know, innovative financing, or the wages have increased on the public sector more than it was when I was out there. But anyway, the second comment that was made was by a business person here in town, and they said, whoa, stop. I like Artesia as big as it is. I don't want to see it get any bigger. I look back there, and I've always remembered it. That's wrong. That's wrong. Artesia has grown from census to census about maybe just a little over 1% every 10 years. Look at Hobbs, Carlsbad, Roswell. They have a substantial growth. That's because their population grows. They can apply for different larger grants, get more federal funding, state funding, those things like that right there. But you get that tax base in here, people in those beds here, spending those monies here, then our gross receipt taxes, we get a larger one. We can then afford to do some of the things that we're discussing here today. We can enhance doing those. We can afford to pay better wages. We can afford, yes ma'am.
Speaking of quality of life, I know you mentioned that, keeping our dollars here, I think that's something that we need to work on. You voted no on the aquatic center. What are your thoughts on quality of life? Would you change your vote, or would you just what are your thoughts about creating these assets to keep families here and attract families here to spend dollars here in Artesia?
I am so glad. I dreaded it, but I'm so glad you brought up that aquatic center. How many people here from the school? Okay. The aquatic center, the old auditorium, was having issues. School made a deal, a school board. You wasn't there, but they made a concerted effort. And they said, it's got to come down. So they tore it down. But they made that decision fully aware of the impact it was going to have on their swim team. Okay? They done it. Then here they come. Charged the city council. They get people from the community come up, beat the drum every meeting. You've got to build us a swimming pool. We've got to have a swimming pool. Economic times were down. We weren't full of money. We had about $2 million that we could donate towards it or participate in it. Phil Birch, that's what he run on the last term he served. Had been a lifelong ambition was to get a city swimming pool. In the last hour of his term, the decision was made with me voting against it. The rest of the city council voted to do it. We're in it. So we gave them the $2 million. Now, recently, we have yet again passed another school bond. The school bond is to build and construct facilities, maintain facilities, do a lot of things for the school. When they tore down that, the old one, and the city came in conjunction with Peyton Yates and the hospital and some other entities, put that thing together out here. It's costing a little over $1 million a year. 1 week during this COVID thing, we wound up with $65. I'm sure you're aware of that. I'm sure you watch it. But we received $65 because the governor said you can't have no more than 10 people. So we were shut down, but the bills go on. So it was $1 million that year, a little over that.
Does the school not participate in the actual operations? Don't they have a long-term lease on it?
No, they help participate in some of the maintenance. They give us a stipend for that, but the city handles the rest of it. That onus falls on that budget at 40%. Okay? Now, not once, and here's my beef, not once did that public schools come back and say on that bond issue that was paying for that old swimming pool, we're going to take that out of there. We're going to reduce that. Because now the citizens of Artesia continue to pay that bond for the school, which did include the old swimming pool, but now out of the city coffers, tax money, now they're paying out of that. Two places. And that's going to continue on for the next 25, 30 years. All the rest of these councils are going to have that to deal with for the life of that facility out there. And then we come back and we say, how come you're not paying your police and fire more money? Because they're not spending $1 million out there for your swimming pool. That, I'm glad you brought up. That gets me a little cranked.
Yeah, and I think that, I understand the dollars and we always want to be a partner with the city. Why are we not having that conversation if there's so much trouble with the city? But our kids have suffered enough and we wanted to invest and give something to our families and we partnered with the city and it's been a great asset. You see families out there.
Yes.
The mental health issues, you're keeping kids off the streets. You're giving, and so it's just an asset to our community, and so I know,
Excuse me. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm talking the financial side of it at the point we got involved with it and the annual upkeep on it. When they were talking about it, when we were having discussions, I could just envision a beautiful pool. Hot summer days, kids playing, stuff like that. I wasn't opposed to the pool itself. I was opposed to the financial side of it, which I was responsible for. That's where I'm coming from.
Would you vote the same way today?
If I didn't have the money, if the circumstances were the same, if it was taking monies that were needed elsewhere desperately.
Well, in the situation where the city sits at this precise moment, if we didn't have a pool and this proposal was brought to city council today, what would your vote be today?
My vote would be go. Yes.
Okay.
It would. We have been fortunate this past budget year. We have received an influx from the federal government on the COVID monies and stuff like that. We still were doing okay with our 1.4. We weren't going overboard with it, but we were getting shots in the arm in the bank account from the federal monies. Then the tax and revenue, state tax and rev, had been withholding our gross receipt tax monies, some of it, over a period of years. And we finally took them to task about 7 years ago. We filed suit on them, us and 2 other municipalities. When we finally got to the pay window, there were 33 that had joined up. But we won it. And now we got an influx into our coffers from that monies as well. So there we wind up $25 million, okay, in the kitty. We can afford the $2 million. If it all happened again today, if the vote was taken today, I would vote for it. But I was never against the pool, simply the way it was handled, simply the timing.
So let me ask you this, you spoke a lot about the management of the pool and the cost of the management of the pool on a day-to-day basis. The COVID downturn of revenue is not the last time we're gonna see that. This town is kind of known for booming and busting.
Yes, ma'am?
Moving forward, is that gonna be, I mean, that still has a lot of day-to-day operation costs, has a lot of maintenance costs to it. Where would you stand on that?
Ma'am, we entered an agreement. We are obligated as a city to manage that thing, to have it prepared and ready for the swim team at their itinerary, whatever they set. It has to be ready for them to practice when they want to hold meets when they want to. They have their own dressing room out there. And then they give us a stipend towards the maintenance side of it.
Terry, is there not a way to go back into the school board and say, hey, you guys are getting bond money for this?
It's never been thrown out there for a discussion with the school board, okay? I don't know. It aggravates me because the citizens, you and I, are paying both sides of this thing for that swimming pool, okay? The school bond, excellent. I mean, it's great. The community has really supported it, been very generous with it through the years. But whenever they're out there, you look at them, they're flush with money. I mean, they get several streams of revenue coming in that they get it from. They don't get it just from GRT like we do. So they've been able to utilize that money to do other things, buy houses, do this, do that. We don't compete with them. We try to be partners with Peyton, with other entities here in town. We try to get together to assist us, or we assist them as it need be on getting things done, adding quality of life stuff. Okay? But I want you to understand, it's simply the timing on that swimming pool, folks. It wasn't that I was totally against a swimming pool. We didn't have the funding at the time, barely did, $2 million. Tell you about how we're paying for that. And that was my question the night I voted against it. I said, how are we paying for this? Nobody had an answer. Until after the meeting and it was all done. What had happened was the state had come in and they had pulled some tax monies from the county, from the municipalities and stuff like that on their GRTs. So anyway, they come in and they says, we're taking that back. We're taking this much back. Now, we will give you the authority to try to recoup that money. You can pass as much as a 3/8 hold harmless tax to recoup the funds that we have withholding from you. But it has to be done in 1/8 increments. Okay? All right? The county lost $30,000 back to the state. When they did, they passed the 1/8. The economy was down, oil field was hurting, everybody was. Out of passing that 1/8 at the county, they received $5 million into their coffers. Spend it whatever they wanted to. There was not a sunset clause put on it. It's from now on until that whatever commission up there decides to vote it out. They will get that from the county. Now, Artesia, we lost 1.3 million is what they withheld from us. So we throwed in the 1/8. Whenever we did that, that put us at about almost $2 million. All right? This ain't right, guys. This ain't right. This is like imposing additional taxes on the community. How can we get get away from that? Somebody says, property taxes. The city receives their portion of the property taxes from the county, a little over $700,000 annually. Let's see, 2 million, take 700,000. We'll do away with the property taxes. All right, that put us right back down there. We throwed our chest out, we thought pretty good. We didn't impose additional burden on the citizens. Then we voted for a swimming pool. When we voted for a swimming pool, how are we going to pay for this? Property taxes. Let's put it back on. What? Sound like a bunch of hypocrites. Got scars all up and down the backside from talking to them commissioners down there in Carlsbad, fighting and arguing with them, not to impose additional taxes on us, because then it would take Artesia, their gross receipt tax would be above 8%. That would have put us the highest below of any municipality in the southern part of the state, below I-40 at over 8%. What business wants to come in here and pay those types of taxes? What guy wants to build a house when he could have got it for less than 8%? Now he's paying well over that. So we reimposed the $700,000 property taxes, our portion of it, and put it towards paying for the swimming pool. Innovative thinking. It was the wrong time, Senator. That's all I'm saying. It wasn't that I didn't ever want to see a swimming pool, didn't need it, didn't want it. It was a quality of life thing. I fully understood. I'd love to be driving a bigger and better car. Which comes a point when you look at what you got in your pocket, it comes a realization maybe you might ought to wait a little bit. If we'd have voted on it today, with the bank account that we have right now and the ability to make future payments, I might have looked just a little differently at that time. Okay?
Other than affordable housing, what other plan do you have to retain city employees? Across the whole board, at the entry level.
At entry level?
At the entry level. Because the fact of the matter is, like she was saying, and you said it too, the housing that's out there right now, unless they want to go rent a doghouse, the only thing they're going to be able to afford.
Yep.
And I understand that's a priority one.
Yes.
Housing is priority one. But other than that, okay, you got a place to live. How else are we gonna keep those people in this town after their job time to spend their money in Artesia, USA?
Okay. Tommy, if you have, if you're wanting to put in a Chili's or a Costco, let's talk about a Costco. Hey, Rob? I've been trying to get Rob to get us a Costco. But anyway, when they come in and they do the demographics, look around, how many people's here, in town, within city limits, this, that, and the other. We have got to be able to increase through the housing, to increase the population through annexation. You've got people out here that, around that some wanted to, some didn't want to annex. But whenever you build that base and you get that population up there, that's when these other entities come in and add to the quality of life, Tommy. It's.
I understand that.
Yeah, okay.
I understand that 100%. We don't have a movie house. There's no entertainment.
Yeah.
For those guys, for couples.
Yeah.
These individuals to go mingle with somebody their own age, other than Carlsbad, Hobbs, Roswell, Lovell.
Yeah.
What kind of plan do you have to, have, I'm not saying, bar is the thing to have, but some different style of entertainment than they can go have a good meal at Adobe or Wellhead or whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
Tommy, what I've tried to explain to you is the key to it is the housing. And if you get the population up, then these other businesses that you want to go, nicer restaurants, shopping, stuff like that, would feel more, we'd have a better chance of drawing those people in and establishing here. You get businesses established, whether it be dining or retail, selling this or that. At that point, thanks, Tom. Anyway, it's got to follow it. And I was in Lubbock doctor's appointment, and they put a Brahms in over there. Dearly love Brahms. Been after Rob again. Get us some Brahms in here. He's trying. But anyway, as it is, they just, and they're moving this away out of Oklahoma. So I don't know. But Tommy, you got to have the people here to make it cost effective for these, and you understand that, coming in and investing in our community. And if the tax base isn't here, the clientele isn't here to come into their shops and restaurants and stuff like that, it's not very lucrative to come in here and be able to survive. But we've got J.C. Park out there. The Yates Foundation came in and refurbished the soccer field out there. Beautiful. And it is. But it's, a lot of things. I know that probably didn't satisfy your answer, your question, Tommy, but we have got, I feel that we have got to get the population in here, and we do that and spending their monies here instead of watching it be transported out of town. And that would afford, whether I'm on the council or it's an entirely different council, for future generations to come, you've got to have the money to operate on. And the only way is to get it to be spent here in Artesia. The only way to get those retails in here and stuff like that is to have that population in here. Keys back on the housing.
Let's circle back to the 5 cadets that you said y'all had.
Yes, sir.
Do you know the reason why those 3 are gone? Did they not pass their requirements, or did they just decide that fire
No,
department wasn't what they wanted to do?
I can
Do you have
address.
a reason?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I can. It's not uncommon. You may have 10 cadets that pass the test. Let's say they pass the test, and then whenever it gets into the actual training and stuff like that, whoa, wait a minute, no, this ain't for me. So they're gone. Or it usually happens before they finish the academy, and they lose them quick. I mean, it's a washout. And I mean, we've had firemen's sons that are cadets, and all of a sudden he goes in and tells Dad, you know, I've watched you all your life, and I gave it a shot, but I don't think I want to do this. And he quit. Now that's devastating to the father. However, the boy was honest. It just wasn't his forte. But Tommy, a lot of them can't pass the test, the physical, some of the aptitude tests and things like that. But it's not uncommon for that.
I understand that, but
Yes, sir.
I'm asking about these particular 3 individuals. Do you know why these 3? I mean,
I know of 2 of them, okay? The one I just spoke to you about, all right? His dad's a firefighter.
Right.
He was so proud whenever he threw that name in there. Whoa, I don't want it, Dad. Okay. So that's one. The other one just quit coming. I mean, he just don't, no shows. So the third, Tommy, I'm not sure about, okay? But we still maintain 2 out of those 5, most recent, okay? Police department, we send guys off, you know, and all this and that. But Artesia sends police department personnel to a multitude of different types of training. They get their training here. The county does not afford those officers the type of trainings that we send them to and the monies that we invest in these local police officers. They don't. As soon as they get back, here's a cage over there shaking that check at them. We've got them trained, invested monies, this, that, and the other, but we can't match them dollar for dollar. We have made adjustments on their benefit packages to try to maybe not cash out front, but at least we've been, when they get increases on insurance and things of that nature, the city has stepped up and taken on a larger portion of that increase and take the burden off of them so it wouldn't impact their check so much. But we're consistently looking for ways and means of trying to enhance them, maybe not through necessarily the cash right there, but to avoid them having to pay for some of this other stuff as much.
Terry, one last comment before I have to go. I just commend all of the candidates for stepping up. I mean, it is a hard job to take on. I think just one thing that I kind of mentioned to most of the candidates is we'll work with anybody. I think just to really, we need to work on that relationship. I wish you would have called us and reached out and said, hey, we're having these problems. We're having these issues. Let's have a conversation. Let's solve the problems. Let's not just attack and say, you know, well, we got this, we have to do it, we're committed to do it. Let's have a conversation. I think it's about building relationships. We're all in this together. And so I think that, you know, whoever is the next mayor, that's what we would expect, is to have that relationship. Because our sole purpose at the foundation is to make this community a better place to live for all of us.
And we are certainly appreciative in that. for all the efforts and the contributions and stuff that the foundation has made, Senator. But to a quick response to what you just mentioned about wish that we would have contacted, made this and that. The council at that time was under the understanding that we're in agreement. Hey, we can't afford to do this. We can't. And then in the last hour, like a wooden or like a lead nickel, it rolled out from Phil on the table. There was no time to get with the foundation. The vote was to be taken that night because Phil was on his door, out the door whenever he hit that gavel. He was through. He didn't have to look back. But everybody there thought that it was a mute issue. And he had told us that. Undisclosed to us, he had been in meetings with the foundation and working this issue and what have you behind us. We didn't understand that. So, you're right. When we go in and we have issues that we're looking to do, whether it be another statute, whether it be a park or whatever, Senator, we need to talk. We need to be open. We need to be open with the council so that we can and have enough time to thoroughly vet it before we are ready to make commitments. And I appreciate the offer, and we would certainly look forward to
I
that.
think that's one thing that, if you look at any relationship that anybody has, a lack of communication is always a detriment to everything.
Yes.
So even past Phil Burge's time,
Yeah.
sure, you guys passed it and went through, but even beyond that, I think we had, let's just sit down and have another conversation. Hey, this is not the way we thought it was gonna go.
Yeah.
But let's have that conversation, and there's mutual respect there, there's partnership,
Absolutely.
and so let's build on that.
Yes,
And back to that, can that not be a conversation with the school as well? Because here is, I'm being truthful here.
yes, sir.
As a taxpayer to the school system, and then the city's not getting theirs, they're double dipping, for lack of better terminology. Why hasn't the city proposed something or come up with something as a council to go talk to the school system and say, same thing as she said, this ain't working, folks.
Tommy, you're right.
And you got a bond over here that everybody's paying school taxes on, that's no longer being used for what the bond was passed for.
The swimming pool was only a portion of that bond.
Sure.
But anyway, nobody's ever talked to the school board about that. Nobody has ever went forward.
And why is that? I'm asking you, because, you said you were on the council for 17 years, and obviously you're not wanting to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, you're right. I get in a lot of trouble.
I
But I have.
know it's not a one-man battle.
And it
a
only,
one-person battle.
well, some of these counselors are just now hearing this as well, okay? It's been eating on me, but they just passed the bond, all right? Now, when the bond came out and it was announced, and they had their posters out and everything, shouting on the radio, pass the bond, pass the bond. It's never failed. And it won't increase your taxes. Okay, but it has. It has, and they don't even realize it, I don't think. But in my estimation, we are paying, the citizens are paying twice for that same facility. But I haven't been before the school board to address it. I would rather have those discussions offline first, and then at that point, then bring it on with some discussion with school, Mr. Knoll or whoever.
You gotta have that amongst your councilmen.
Yeah.
That conversation amongst your councilman and mayor.
Yep.
And as a city, you gotta come up with a plan.
You have resources to
Yeah.
leverage,
Yes,
this,
ma'am.
and so I think that's important, and that's an important
Yes,
role
ma'am.
for the mayor, and councilors.
Yes, ma'am. There probably Had you ever thought about that, Louis? How that was happening? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, it's just,
Well, I never did.
No. but you understand where I stand with that?
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, Tommy, we'll see. We'll see if we can't get an audience with them and visit. Ralph?
Okay, I'm Ralph Rodriguez, City Councilman. I just want to put my 2 cents in that thought process. The way that the chain of command went under previous administrations, because I've served under 5 different mayors, is that a councilman was not to go above the boundaries of the mayor. That was the mayor's duty, was to communicate with whatever it may be, whether it be a board, whether it be the school board. I, as a councilman, was not allowed to, as a representative of the city, to say, I'm gonna go talk to John Roscoe or to Rick Caton. That was understood.
Yep.
And Phil made that knowledgeable, and he made it verbal, not anything but Phil. But Ray Miller has been more transparent. But Phil would not even let us communicate with the department heads. In other words, if the department head had an issue, for example, work environment or something, he was not allowed to come and talk to a council member. He had to go before the committee and then before the mayor. Just to clarify that. So we didn't reach out to the foundation,
What
but
about after Philbridge? I think that's my
Okay,
question,
and that's fine.
after Phil.
But to reciprocate and not to take up his time is, I've never heard from the foundation as a counselor either. I have a city, we're on the city website, we have our email address, we have our phone numbers there. Everybody knows where I work, I've lived here for all my life, but I've never had nobody reach out to me either. So we're talking about communication team.
But we've been to several, I mean, we go to city council.
Yeah, right,
meetings
and we do communicate there,
conversations.
but off the cuff kind of thing, we've never communicated. I've never reached out, but same token, they've never reached out to me either. They've never said, hey, we want to talk to each counselor and get their opinion about the pool or about the library or about a statue or whatever.
But
So-
if you guys are having these financial issues and are, why not reach out to your resources and find out how to fix that?
I understand that, but we're talking about communication both ways, because the comments have been, why haven't you reached out to us? Same thing could be as, why haven't they reached out to me as an individual, wanting to know my opinion on the swimming pool, on the aquatic center, on the library, on a statue that we're going up with, or whatever. I'm not blaming nobody, but teamwork is very important here, and so is communication. And your teamwork, you leverage your resources. You are our resource. So we need to use that. And now that this discussion is coming out, we can feel more comfortable going to the foundation and say, can I have a meeting with you or whoever it is? But I've never, even when we started the pool, nobody ever contacted me other than a few times when we were having ground opening or something like that. Have they reached out to us and said, what is your opinion on the aquatic center? Because has anybody been to the aquatic center lately? How has the warranty work and construction been repaired?
Oh no, I was underwater swimming.
Okay,
So-
if people go out there, it's not complete.
Yeah.
We're still having issues out there. We had issues with sensor, we finally had to go to another company and get a different sensor.
And again, and there's a partnership there, we're fully aware of all of that,
Mhm.
and so we're working with James, James is a good partner in our community.
Correct.
And so there was a 2-year warranty, we're past
Warranty's
those 2
expired.
years, but they're still committed to fixing all of that,
Well-
so.
If I can ask a question, if you may look into it, because you probably have different knowledge than we get. From what I understand, our facility maintenance department has been doing all the work on it. I think, and I hope I'm wrong, okay? I'll give you all the benefit of the doubt. I hope I'm wrong, but I try to keep up with it a little bit more, but I think that our warranty process is out and the time is prolonged, just like any warranty, just like a car, because I'm in the car business. People come in at 35,800 miles. Well, your parts on back order. Your parts on back order. Your parts on back order. Before you know it, if you didn't make a ticket at 35,800 miles, and Mr. Tommy Vega brings his truck in, it's got 37,000, we can just tell him, hey, sorry, Tommy, you're out of warranty.
So it's about relationships, so we
Right.
actually are coordinating a meeting with James and
Okay,
the
that's fine.
architects,
I
and
just-
so.
And I didn't mean to take up his time, I just wanted to.
No, but I think these are important matters.
Yeah.
Because I think that everybody has a different perspective and a different point of view, and people have not understood that this council has done what it can with its resources, number one. Number two, we have advisors, just like anybody has advisors. If you have a financial advisor and he tells you, hey, take $100,000 and put it in this stock, you've taken that financial advisor's advice. If you go down under, you took his advice. We have department heads that we have to take advice from. They come between the committees, the advisors, they come to us with a recommendation. And sometimes people don't realize how government works. We get that paper that morning, we gotta vote on it that night. Have you had time to do research? Have we made mistakes? Yes, we have. Sometimes you regret and you go regress and you say, man, I should have done more research if I had more time because I just did something that wasn't fully aware of. Sorry, Terry.
No, and I think we
That's
just.
all right.
really work
That's
with
good.
the buildings also.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
No, there's not.
I just
But a
wanna
lot of
say-
times, depending on the mayor who's running the show, he has put it on the agenda. And that's where you have Robert's Rules of Orders and you have to follow instructions. And remember, the mayor has so much power and authority. The council's the one with the power to vote for it.
Yeah.
So if you go to a mayor, city manager form of government, you eliminate the mayor. You don't need a mayor. You got 8 council members who then are voted in every 2 years as a chairperson, and you rotate. So your city manager runs your day-to-day operations. Sorry, I'm done.
What I wanted to say-
I've been holding it in all this time.
That's right. What I wanted to say was, this is the 4th of these little luncheons that I've gone to, because I'm going to go to all 5, because I want to hear from these mayors. And more than the candidates that I want to hear from, I want to hear from all of our people that are maybe upset or trying to figure something out, because 2 years ago I didn't have a clue about any of this stuff. And then, I got, thrown into a COVID world, and it's been a lot of fun since. But but the thing about it is again and again and again, I hear this communication conversation, and I do think that we as a city absolutely need to kind of figure out, maybe have a more user-friendly website, maybe do a little bit better PR. I'm not sure how to do it, and it's something that I am going to talk about.
Gene Dow made an offer. He will record every city council meeting.
Really?
No charge. He'll set up cameras, he'll do it where our constituents can watch it.
Well, don't they do that in the commission? The county? The county
They
do.
do it at the state.
But he did
Yeah,
make that
I
offer
do.
yesterday, that he will record every city council meeting. Doesn't take anybody to man it, just a push of a button, and he'll get it done. And then our constituents in our districts in the city will be able to monitor us and grade us and evaluate us, call us. Remember, we meet the second and fourth Tuesday of every meeting.
Month.
Our names are on the website, every month, I'm sorry, and we are on the website, so we are visible.
Yeah, we're visible, but I just think it's that whole thing where, the people still don't feel like they know how to see us or something.
And
you know,
with
it's just
COVID, we're
kinda-
tired of behind the screen stuff, we want the
Yep.
one-on-one, I think that's important.
Years ago, there was a class, thanks, Tommy, I appreciate you. Anyway, high school, there was a class up there that came in, they'd sit in the back of the room, and by the clock, they'd film you and all that. And then we'd get beat up when we went home through the week,
The
neighbors would
only
say.
problem she said was executive session, so we would have to put like a commercial while we're in executive session, because you can't have a camera in executive session.
Let me make one comment.
Sure.
And I promised that I wasn't gonna butt into your presentation, because actually I prefer mine went really short, to be honest, because all these have been coming up, but I just want to give Sandra credit, because what benefited me, and Raul was right on, the comments he made. At that particular time when we went through the aquatic thing,
Yep.
I was on the tail end of my council term, and then I had gone on to the school board. And Sandra was kind enough to invite me from the school side. It wasn't council, because I understood completely that it's top-down kind of stuff. If you're on a certain committee, you will be invited to participate on certain things on the council. Okay. School board, when I spoke with Sandra and they were doing all that, And just as a private citizen, I said, can I? She said, of course. But the superintendent supported that I sit on that committee, just as kind of the fly on the wall type of guy. So I could hear both sides of the council and the board. But I wasn't making decisions for the council because I wasn't privy to what the mayor was agreeing to, what this stuff, till we voted. Okay. But so I give Sandra credit for allowing me and asking me to sit on the committee. But that was something on mine, and I happened to be on the school board. Otherwise, probably, like Ronald said, we would have missed that two ships in the night kind of thing. We didn't get the benefit of hearing everything and being involved. So it's very refreshing hearing what Sandra says, that they're completely approachable, because we need them like heck in this community. And I'll get off my soapbox because I have next week where I'm going to be in the
If you get on fire, I'll be here for you. I'll always sit here.
And to be honest with you, the talks broke down because I was on the original committee meeting at the school administration building when we started the aquatic center talk. So the first holdup was location. After that, it died down completely. It just became a dead issue till it was revived again.
And I will say, I think that you all, the city, had designated some of your staff to be on decision-making at the table. We had all stakeholders. And we encouraged them to invite counselors, and I don't know, again, communication. And so everybody was always welcome. When Louise called, I was ecstatic. I was like, yes, come and see what we're doing. Give us your thoughts, be involved. And so I think that's what we would like to see going forward, is just more engagement from our public officials.
I was mayor pro tem under Phil. When he wanted me to know something, he told me. And it was usually, I need to go out to BIA and talk, for their ceremony. He didn't like going out there. Rest of the stuff, the meetings, the business stuff for the day-to-day stuff, where we were at in certain projects, stuff like that, I had no idea. If he'd passed away in deal and I had to step up and start making some of those meetings that he had been taking, and I would have never known at what point we were or what the objective was. So anyway, but the swimming pool came up just right there at the last, within the last 30 minutes of his term. And that's how that happened. But certainly, we want to, as a city, whether I'm still on the council or what have you, still need to have that relationship, as you say, Sandra, between the foundation and the city, because there's going to be things that continue to come up, projects and stuff that we can mutually benefit by, and we'll see how much we can do and stuff like that.
Terry, I have one quick question. Why are you wanting to move up the city council where you have a vote into being mayor where now you've lost your vote?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
It's a question I actually have for all of them. I just haven't made it to all the lectures yet. Or all,
Certainly, I'm ready for you.
Okay.
Okay. It was coming up time to consider running for offices and stuff like that for the guys that our terms were up. I look around, Kent Bratcher come and asked me. He said, Terry, you gonna run for mayor? Kent, pat answer, I don't know until time to pick the packets up. Leave me alone. So anyway, I make up my mind. So then it come along and Aubrey Hobson decided he was going to retire, which he has. We hired Summer. She's pretty good, but she's still a little tender in that field, all right? So Aubrey's been mentoring her for the last 6 months before he left. Then along comes the HR, Sandy. countrymen. And she said, I'm leaving too. Oh my goodness, HR, clerk, city treasurer, wait a minute, guys. We've got some good candidates. Counselors. Moreau, Sam Hagelstein came on last time, last election. They're doing good. They're excited. They're getting involved. They ask the right questions. They're starting to get a grasp of what's going on in this, that, and the other. So they're coming along good. Now we've got other candidates. They've just started coming to meetings. So that's about the depth of city council and the things that we deal with that they understand to this point. Now, Kent Bratcher or myself, both of us, have risked it all. We've stepped out. One of us may get to stay. The other will have to go. Jeff, on the other hand, he's in mid-cycle with the mayor's position, so he's in a rocking chair. He comes, if he doesn't win, he comes on, finishes out his 2 years, and runs for his seat again. Well, what a swinging ride. But anyway, as it is, with the loss of 40 years of experience in the clerk treasurer's department, side of the house, and Sandy had probably 35, 40 years as well between California before she came here. That experience is gone. We're talking HR, taking care of the benefits of the employees, pay, health, stuff like that, all this. We need somebody that might have some understanding or has dealt somewhat with it until we get that backfilled. Same thing with Aubrey's position. We've got to have, somebody that's had worked with the budget and understands some of the taxation stuff or has been exposed to it. I've done it for 17 years. With the advent of getting fresh, brand new counselors up, and certainly not to take anything from any of candidates or any of the rest of them, but somebody's got to pick the paddle up and start driving that boat. We cannot all get in it in whichever way the wind blows, where we wind up. You've got to have somebody that has, as John Henry said the other night, you got to have a vision. We do. We have had for many years. We got a 5-year plan, and we maintain that thing, update it, stuff like that. We work with it. But anyway, that's what prompted me to decide to go ahead and run. Is I want to give that 17 years of experience to these new ones and what have you into the system. Thank you, Sandra.
Thanks, Eric.
You bet, Rob. Anybody else? I've run the crowd off.
Thank you.
I can't hardly talk. But did that satisfy your answer?
Okay.